You know this number. I mean, you've known it your whole life, right? You probably learned about it in math class. Maybe you've seen it pop up in movies. But what if I told you it's secretly running your phone, guiding your flights, and even describing the sound of music? Yeah, today we're going to uncover the hidden life of one of the most important numbers in the entire universe, pi. So let me ask you something. What in the world do a bicycle wheel, a sound wave, and your phone's GPS all have in common? I mean, think about it. They seem totally unrelated, right? But believe it or not, they all share one single secret ingredient. And there it is. That's the secret. An endless, patternless string of digits that has absolutely fascinated people for centuries. It starts out simple enough, 3.14159. But here's the crazy part. It goes on forever, without ever repeating. It holds secrets that, honestly, we're still trying to figure out today. So what is pi really? I mean, sure, the official definition is a mathematical constant, but that's just a fancy label. A better way to think of it is as a rule. A perfect, unbreakable rule that you can find inside every single circle. And I mean every circle. It doesn't matter if it's the size of a planet or as tiny as an atom, this relationship never, ever changes. It's one of the fundamental truths of our universe. All right, so let's start where most of us first met pi, inside a simple circle. You could say this is its natural habitat, right? And trust me, understanding what it does here is the key to finding it everywhere else. Okay, so any circle you can think of has two key measurements. First, you've got the distance straight across the middle. We call that diameter. Then you've got the distance all the way around the edge. That's the circumference. Now, for thousands of years, people knew these two things were connected somehow, but they needed a kind of magic number to bridge that gap. And guess what? Pi is that magic number. The rule itself is incredibly simple. The distance around a circle is always the distance across it times pi. That's literally it. If you know one of those measurements, pi lets you figure out the other one every single time. Here's a cool way to picture it. Imagine you put a little dab of wet paint on a bicycle tire. Now, you roll that bike forward for exactly one full turn. That paint is going to leave a line on the ground, right? Well, the length of that line is the circumference. And if you were to measure it, you'd find it's always just a little bit more than 3 times longer than the wheel's own width. That's pi, right there in the real world. Okay, so pi lives in circles. Simple enough. But this is where things get really, really interesting. How on earth does a number that comes from a flat shape escape geometry and start describing things that move? You know, like the rhythm of a wave? And that's a great question because at first glance, they seem to have absolutely nothing in common. The secret, though, is to stop thinking of a circle as just a shape and start seeing it as a journey. A perfect, repeating cycle that always ends up right back where it started. And if you look around, our universe is just full of cycles. You see, when mathematicians talk about cycles or rotation, they often use a special measurement instead of plain old degrees. It's called a radian. Now don't worry, all you really need to know is this. One full 360-degree trip around a circle is defined as exactly 2 pi radians. So you see, pi isn't just related to cycles, it's literally baked into the language we use to describe them. And once you make that connection, that pi is the language of cycles, you start seeing it absolutely everywhere. The physics behind sound waves, the frequency of light, even the vibration of a guitar string. All of these repeating patterns are described using formulas that have pi right in them. It's like the mathematical backbone of pretty much everything that has a rhythm. So yeah, this is not just some ancient history lesson or abstract math. This ancient number is quietly running our modern world, including, believe it or not, the technology you're using to watch this right now. Okay, let's start with your phone's GPS. Our planet is a sphere, which is basically just a 3D circle, right? Well, trying to calculate the shortest distance between 2 points on a curved surface like that is a really complex geometry problem. The solution? It involves formulas that are fundamentally built around pi. Seriously, without it, your map app would have no clue where you are. Or, hey, just look at the device you're watching this on right now. Its processor has something called a clock speed. That's a steady electronic pulse, a cycle that happens billions of times every second. To describe that incredibly fast rhythm, you need trigonometry, which means you need pi. And it's the same thing for your Wi-Fi, which sends information using radio waves. That's another cycle, which means another appearance from our old friend, pi. And if you've ever been on a long flight and looked at the little map on the screen, you might have noticed something weird. The flight path isn't a straight line, it's a curve. That's because the shortest distance between 2 points on a sphere is always an arc. And calculating the length of that arc, what pilots call the Great Circle Route, is a job that's flat out impossible to do accurately without pi. All right, so we've journeyed all the way from simple circles to radio waves and global technology. To wrap things up, let's bring it all back home with one final simple problem that really shows pi in action. Okay, let's put this to the test. Imagine you're standing next to a circular swimming pool, and it's exactly 10 meters wide. Now, you want to know how far you'd walk if you went all the way around the edge just one time. Based on that first simple rule we talked about, how would you figure that out? It really is that simple. You just take the diameter, that's 10 meters, and you multiply it by pi, and you get about 31.4 meters. That's it. That universal rule gives you a real-world answer, just like that. So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that pi isn't just some random number from a textbook. It's a fundamental rule of the universe. It's a constant that connects the smallest circle you can draw to the largest planet in our solar system. It's in the technology we build every day and in the natural world all around us. Which kind of makes you wonder, what other simple numbers out there are hiding universe-sized secrets?